You know what I haven't done in a while? A folktale. As a matter of fact, I just checked, and the last time I did one, a real one, not one of my own stories or one of Lafcadio Hearn's, was in October of 2018, when I retold Kachikachi Mountain. Remember the story about the jerk of a rabbit and the poor abused tanuki? Well, today I'm going to tell you another curious and, disturbing story, this time about the jellyfish. Jellyfish are called Kurage in Japanese, and that is written by putting together the characters for ocean and moon. Ocean moon. Isn't that beautiful? Speaking of oceans, I'm literally recording this on July 23rd, Umi no Hi, or Marine Day, sometimes called Ocean Day. Ocean, jellies, it's kind of a theme. But it gets better. After the folktale about a jellyfish, I'm going to tell you a fascinating cultural nugget about eels and the act of seppuku, or ritual suicide. Eels are known to spend time in the ocean, so it's another connection to Umi no Hi, or Ocean Day. But first, before we get into why jellyfish look the way they do, Uncanny Japan is author me, Teresa Matsura, exploring all that is weird from old Japan. Strange superstitions and old wives' tales, cultural oddities and interesting language quirks. These are little treasures I dig up while doing research for my writing, and I want to share them with you here on Uncanny Japan. I hope you like the show.
This episode is supported by Sonnet. Listening to podcasts shouldn't be hard, but so many podcast apps on Android are cluttered and confusing. With its modern, clean design and extremely user-friendly interface, Sonnet makes it easier for those on Android to discover new shows, listen, subscribe, and get notified of latest episodes. Best of all, it's free. Click on the link in the description to listen to Uncanny Japan on Sonnet.
Hey everyone. I hope you're all hanging in there, not too stressed out about anything or everything. Maybe I can take your mind off things. Or perhaps damage you a little more. Have you ever wondered why jellyfish look the way they do? Well, there's an old folktale that goes by several titles, actually. The Jellyfish Takes a Journey, The Jellyfish and the Monkey, or Why the Jellyfish Has No Bones, to name a few. In Japanese, it's sometimes called Kurage no Hone, jellyfish bones, or Kurage no Honenashi, no jellyfish bones. Lots of different titles and lots of different versions, even one by Yae Theodora Ozaki, who has retold a lot of Japanese folktales. But I decided to read the one I found on the Project Gutenberg site. It's called The Jellyfish Takes a Journey by Grace James. Once upon a time, the jellyfish was a very handsome fellow. His form was beautiful and round as the full moon. He had glittering scales and fins and a tail as other fishes have. But he had more than these. He had little feet as well, so that he could walk upon the land as well as swim in the sea. He was merry and he was gay. He was beloved and trusted of the Dragon King. In spite of all this, his grandmother always said he would come to a bad end because he would not mind his books at school. She was right. It all came about in the wise. The Dragon King was but lately wed when the young lady dragon, his wife, fell very sick. She took to her bed and stayed there. And the wise folk in Dragonland shook their heads and said her last day was at hand. Doctors came from far and near, and they dosed her, and they bled her. But no good at all could they do her, the poor young thing, nor recover her of her sickness. The Dragon King was beside himself. heart's desire," he said to his pale bride. "I would give my life for you." "Little good would it do me," she answered. "Howbeit, if you will fetch me a monkey's liver, I will eat it and live." "A monkey's liver?" cried the Dragon King. "A monkey's liver? You talk wildly. O light, O mine eyes, how shall I find a monkey's liver? Know you not, sweet one, that monkeys dwell in the trees of the forest, whilst we are in the deep sea?" Tears ran down the Dragon Queen's lovely countenance. "If I do not have the monkey's liver, I shall die," she said. Then the dragon went forth and called to him the jellyfish. "The queen must have a monkey's liver," he said, "to cure her of her sickness." "What will she do with a monkey's liver?" asked the jellyfish. "Why, she will eat it," said the Dragon King. "Oh," said the jellyfish. "Now," said the king, "you must go and fetch me a live monkey. I have heard that they dwell in the tall trees of the forest. Therefore swim quickly, O jellyfish, and bring a monkey with you back again." "How will I get the monkey to come back with me?" said the jellyfish. "Tell him of all the beauties and pleasures of Dragonland. Tell him he will be happy here, and that he may play with the mermaids all day long." "Well," said the jellyfish, "I'll tell him that." Off set the jellyfish, and he swam, till at last he reached the shore where grew the tall trees of the forest. And sure enough, there was a monkey sitting in the branches of a persimmon tree, eating persimmons. "The very thing," said the jellyfish to himself. "I'm in luck." "Noble monkey," he said, "will you come to Dragonland with me?" "How should I get there?" said the monkey. "Only sit on my back," said the jellyfish, "and I'll take you there. You'll have no trouble at all." "Why should I go there, after all?" said the monkey. "I am very well off as I am." "Ah," said the jellyfish, "it's plain that you know little of the beauties and pleasures of Dragonland. There you will be happy as the day is long. You will win great riches and honor. Besides, you may play with the mermaids from morn till eve." "I'll come," said the monkey. And he slipped down from the persimmon tree and jumped on the jellyfish's back. When the two of them were out halfway over to Dragonland, the jellyfish laughed. "Now, jellyfish, why do you laugh?" "I laugh for joy," said the jellyfish. "When you come to Dragonland, my master, the Dragon King, will get your liver and give it to my mistress, the Dragon Queen, to eat, and then she will recover from her sickness." My liver?" said the monkey. "Why, of course," said the jellyfish. "Alas and alack," cried the monkey. "I'm grieved indeed, but if it's my liver you're wanting, I haven't it with me. To tell you the truth, it weighs pretty heavy, so I took it out, and I hung it on a branch of that persimmon tree where you found me. Quick, quick, let's go back for it." Back they went, and the monkey was up in the persimmon tree in a twinkling. "Mercy me, I don't see it at all," he said. "Where can I have mislaid it? I should not be surprised if some rascal has stolen it," he said. Now, if the jellyfish had minded his books at school, would he have been hoodwinked by the monkey? You may believe it, but his grandmother always said he would come to a bad end. "I shall be some time finding it," said the monkey. "You'd best be getting home to Dragonland. The king would be loath for you to be out after dark. You can call for me another day. Sayonara." The monkey and the jellyfish parted on the best of terms. The minute the Dragon King set eyes on the jellyfish. "Where is the monkey?" he said. "I'm to call for him another day," said the jellyfish. And he told all the tale. The Dragon King flew into a towering rage. He called his executioners and bid them to beat the jellyfish. "Break every bone in his body," he cried. "Beat him into a jelly." Alas, for the sad fate of the jellyfish. Jelly he remains to this very day. As for the young Dragon Queen, she was fain to laugh when she heard the story. "If I can't have a monkey's liver, I must do without it," she said. "Give me my best brocade gown, and I will get up, for I feel a good deal better." The end. Now on to my promised eel trivia. Remember last episode we talked about unagi, or eel? Well, I got a comment on Facebook the other day that jogged a very interesting memory about this slippery animal. Way back in the day, a Japanese uncle who was very high up in an eel importing company was always bringing some over because it was my favorite food at the time, and he was a really nice guy. Well, one day, the family was all sitting around, dining on kabayaki, grilled eel no less, and he was telling me about how eel are cleaned differently before cooking depending on the city. You might have heard of the Kansai and the Kanto regions of Japan. In case you don't know, Kansai is the western part. Think Osaka. With Kanto being the eastern part, think Tokyo. There are a lot of customs, foods, and traditions that are quite different between the Kansai and the Kanto regions. But that's a whole nother topic. For now, let's concentrate on gutting your eel. In the Kanto region, Tokyo, remember that this was the old Edo capital. There were a lot of samurai who worked under the shogunate, and they didn't like to be reminded of seppuku, or ritual suicide, by cutting the stomach. Because of this, when eel are prepared, even to this day, they are readied by slicing along the backbone. On the other hand, the uncle said, the Kansai region, which is known for being more outgoing, humorous, and friendly than their eastern counterparts, and also were mostly merchants at the time, would clean the fish the usual way, by cutting the stomach. He then taught me an interesting phrase, hara o watte hanaso, which literally means to break your stomach and talk. I think of it like spilling your guts or talking absolutely honestly about something. This is a good thing, so they have no problem with this way of gutting the eel. My mind was blown, and I believed that until just the other day when the listener commented about it and jogged my memory and made me do a little more research. I'm sorry to say there is something wrong with this analogy. Something I never even considered until I spent an entire day and a half reading up on how to clean and cook eel. Can you guess what it is? Okay, I'll tell you. Yes, eels were opened from the back, but all other fish were cleaned the usual way, cut from the stomach. So if people in the Kanto area, back then, really did hate the idea of being reminded about seppuku, then why didn't they cut all the fish from the back? The truth isn't so much about seppuku, but more to do with the way the eel are cooked. I read some different reasons, but it seems that grilling eel started in the west, the Kansai area, where they prepared it the way they always prepared fish, by gutting the belly. It's then grilled right away, which makes the eel rich, more fragrant, but perhaps a little tough. The technique then moved up to Edo, and there they refined it. They learned that if you steamed the eel first, then grilled it, it got rid of all the fat, and you ended up with a softer, plumper, and lighter fillet. But why the different ways of cutting? I read, and even in Japanese, most of the sites talk about the seppuku and hara o watte hanaso angle. But this is what I figured out. Remember, with the Kanto or Tokyo style, the eel are steamed before grilled. Well, the cooks first skewer them with these bamboo skewers. And because of the way they're steamed, cutting the eel from the back gives you a thicker edge of meat for skewering so that it doesn't fall apart. I still have some questions about that, so if you know anything, let me know, let us know, let the listeners know, because I'm very curious about this. I want to give a special thanks to Chris Garvey, who mentioned the seppuku angle over on Facebook and totally jogged my memory and made me dig deeper to what I thought I knew, but I didn't really know, so thank you, Chris. All that said, despite how much I used to love unagi and how delicious they are, I haven't eaten one in years, like many, many years. The poor little buggers are fast disappearing, their numbers plummeting. The Japanese Ministry of the Environment has even listed them as endangered, though that doesn't stop them from being stocked in supermarkets all over Japan. Or having Doyo no Ushi no Hi, which is a day where everyone is supposed to eat eel. It's supposed to renew your energy and give you stamina in these hot summer months. But I think garlic might work just as well. So that's today's show. Gambare unagi, gambare kurage. I want to thank you all very much for listening and supporting the show. Always, always a special thanks to my patrons, and I will talk to you again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye. You've just reached the end of another episode of Uncanny Japan. Perhaps you'd like more. A monthly folktale translated and retold by me. The occasional binaurally mic'd soundscape like the ones you hear on this show. Or recipes, behind-the-curtain episodes, homemade postcards, and more. If you're interested in that or supporting the show in any way, please search for Uncanny Japan and Patreon. We've got a wonderful group over there. Thank you again for listening, supporting, reviewing, and telling your friends about the show. My name is Teresa Matsura, and I will talk to you again soon.